service, therapy, and emotional support animals. Only one category is legally allowed inside restaurants in Florida, and now, because of what seems to be a rampant trend of patrons bringing pets into dining establishments, an Orlando area state representative is looking to make it illegal for owners to bring non-service animals into your favorite eateries. This week, Florida Today food editor Suzy Fleming Leonard is in the studio to talk with our colleague Isadora Rangel about the proposed legislation and what caused the increase in entitlement for people to bring their pets with them to restaurants. Additionally, Suzy shares what a few local chefs will be doing to spruce up their Thanksgiving leftovers.
Suzy, welcome on the show.
Hi, thank you.
So you're working on this story that will be available for Florida Today subscribers starting on.
It is online now for Florida Today subscribers only. It will be available next week for
Everybody
else, and it will be in the Thursday Thanksgiving Day paper, which is available today. Is that confusing enough for you?
I know it is confusing, right? So your story is about this state representative who wants to make it illegal for people to bring dogs to a restaurant.
Correct.
Explain why, who is this person and why did he decide to file this bill?
Well, his name is Bruce Anton. He's from Orlando, and he says that it wasn't really one particular thing that made him file this bill, but he just kept seeing dogs and pets in places that he felt were inappropriate, and he would talk to other people and they were a little uneasy about it too. And I mean, and his bill includes it's restaurants as well as grocery stores and a lot of retail establishments. And he said he's still working and refining and tweaking the bill, but he said kind of the thing that really set him over the edge was he was eating at this pretty nice restaurant in Orlando, and he looked over and there was this big dog. He said that if it stood up, it would be able to put its paws on your shoulders. And this big dog was sitting there, and people were walking by and petting the dog and scratching the dog. And he said he was just thinking, why is that dog in this restaurant? And just to be clear with this bill, and I've talked to a few people who were like, well, he's trying to take the power away from the municipalities and things like that. He's not trying to keep people from bringing pets to pet-friendly outdoor dining areas. So
okay, so he's talking about the indoor seating
inside,
area.
Exactly, the inside of the dining room, which actually is already against health code.
But it's not illegal.
It's a health code violation, and so you're already not supposed to bring any animals other than a service animal inside a restaurant. But people have started kind of pushing that rule and testing the boundaries, and he just feels like it's time to put a cap on that and let people know it's not okay to just bring your pet wherever you want to go.
Well, that's going to be controversial. We know when we mess with pets that people get a little worked up, right?
Yes, people get very, very emotional on both sides of the issue, and I've talked to several people about this, and including a local woman. She lives in Melbourne. Her name is Jennifer Cleveland, and she is legally blind. She lost her sight to celiac disease, and she relies on a guide dog, a service dog. His name is Frank. He's a standard poodle. He takes her. She lives in downtown Melbourne, so that she can maintain her independence because she can walk places and she can go to restaurants and things like that. And this whole need for people to bring their pets everywhere they go, it's had two consequences for her. And one is that businesses are more suspicious because I guess they think she doesn't look blind enough. So they're suspicious about letting her with her guide dog in. And so she gets questioned more. But she's also had several problems with people, and they say, well, my dog's a service dog too. Well, it's a dog sitting on their lap, or it's a dog in on a retractable leash, and all these things that a service dog does not do.
Yeah.
And people will tell her, oh, my dog just wants to play with your dog. Well, her dog is not a pet. And she says, it's not a pet, it's a medical device. So going up and wanting to play with or pet someone's service dog is like going up and saying, hey, can I play with your crutches?
Yeah.
Can I take a spin in your wheelchair? I mean, you would never do that. And so it's kind of the same. So if you see somebody with a dog that people are petting or it's in their lap, or
And it's not a service
that's
dog.
not a service dog.
So, but
because-
there's the thing, according to the American with Disabilities Act, you cannot ask the dog's owner if that's a service dog or not, right?
Well, you can ask if it's a service dog. There are 2 questions that a restaurant or a business owner can ask. You can say, is this a service dog? And if they say yes, you can say, what service is it trained to perform? You can't say, what's your disability? You can't just say,
Yeah.
well, what's wrong with you? Because that's offensive. That's a privacy issue.
Absolutely.
But you can say, what service is this dog trained to perform? And it really is kind of up to the person to be truthful. And I could take my dog into a restaurant, and if they ask me, is this a service? Because a dog doesn't have to have a vest. It doesn't have to have a license. It doesn't have to have any kind of ID. You have to answer the question, is this a service dog? I could say, yes, Earl is a service dog.
Yeah.
And they could say, what service is he trained to perform? And I could say, I have anxiety, and he is trained to calm me down if I'm having a panic attack.
Yeah. And that's it.
And
You
I
can't
wouldn't
ask
even,
for anything
yeah, and I
else.
wouldn't even have to say I have anxiety. I would
Yeah.
just have to say he's trained to calm me down if I'm having an attack.
Yeah, and that's it.
And that's it. But once Earl got into the restaurant and he's sitting under the table with his chin on the edge of the table, he's obviously not a service dog. If you have a service dog, there are certain behaviors that a service dog is supposed to display. It's supposed to lay on the floor. It's not, you never feed a service dog in a restaurant. They can give them some water because they're working dogs, but people are not allowed to pet the service dog. The service dog can't growl or bark at anyone else in the restaurant. So if a dog is doing any of these things, if it's sitting in someone's lap, if it's eating off the table, if they're feeding it under the table, any of these things, then a restaurant owner is within their rights to go and say, I'm sorry, but could you please take your
service
pet?
dog is
Yes,
okay.
could you please take your pet outside? And which has its own, it causes its own problems.
Absolutely.
Because I have seen local restaurants that have asked people with dogs to leave. And I don't know if they were service dogs or if they were pets. I wasn't there, so I can't make a call. But the restaurants have just been brutally attacked for kicking out a service dog. I had one chef tell me the woman had the dog in her lap and was feeding it off the table, and he said, get the dog out of my restaurant. And the next day on Facebook, it was just poof. It was like somebody had dropped an atomic bomb.
So people a lot of times consider their pets human beings. I always thought that was a little weird, as much as I love pets. But I think there needs to be that distinction that a dog should not be eating off your plate in a restaurant. In your home, sure.
And exactly, whatever you want to do in your home is. And I talked with an attorney. He's a law professor in Michigan, and he has done animal rights law for 30 years. He's probably one of the most knowledgeable people about animal law that I've ever heard of. And he said that he kind of attributes this to a few things. One, he says people are more attached to their pets. They think of their pets as children. They want to bring them wherever they go. They want to be with them at all times. Another thing is 20, 30 years ago, if someone had a service dog with them, you could kind of see, and I don't mean this to be insensitive, but you could tell what their disability was, because there were only certain disabilities where someone used a service dog. And so you could tell what the dog's purpose was. Now there are certain disabilities, epilepsy, autism, PTSD. There are things that people can legitimately use a service dog for that if you look at somebody, you can't say,
visible.
oh, you can't look at them and say, oh, you're disabled. So that has caused a little bit of confusion. And then the other thing is the whole difference between service dogs, therapy dogs, and emotional support animals.
I actually want you to talk about that because I hear that people go online and they fill out this form and they get a certificate that their dog is I believe in an emotional support dog. Like, what are the differences? And like, a service dog is probably a lot harder to get a certificate or proof than an emotional dog, right?
Well, a service dog is trained. I mean, Jennifer, her dog Frank. Frank trained for 2 years before
Wow.
Jennifer even was introduced.
What kind of
to
dog
him.
is Frank?
He's a standard poodle. So he trained for 2 years, starting when he was 8 weeks old. I think he was just a little puppy and started his training. Trained for 2 years. Then she had to train for several weeks with him so that she knew how to use him, knew how to take care of him, knew the commands, and knew what to do with him. So more than 2 years of training, $30,000+ to train this dog.
Wow.
So, and that's how specialized. There are service dogs that if you drop your pencil, they will pick your pencil up and hand it to you. They'll turn the lights on for you. I mean, these dogs have
Wow.
some mad skills. They are seriously trained, and when they're working, you don't pet them, you don't play with them. She told me that Frank, he does get some time off. When she's at home and she doesn't need him to be working, he can play, but he can never in his whole entire life ever play with a ball.
Why?
Because if she's walking down the street and a kid throws a ball, he can't go after that ball.
Yeah.
He has to stay focused, and he can't flinch away from other dogs. I mean, it's serious training. If somebody approaches, he can't flinch away because
Yeah.
that's her eyes. He is her eyes. So he has to be focused on her at all times. And she says, because I am a dog lover, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, poor Frank, he never gets to play. And she says, but when he is off work for too long, he gets anxious. He doesn't like it. That's his purpose.
Yeah.
That is
That's
fun.
amazing.
And for him, so that's a service dog. Lots of training, lots of money, lots of time. Very specific tasks that they're trained to do. A therapy dog is also a very well-trained dog, but not necessarily trained for a particular task. You can take a therapy dog into nursing homes and schools and things like that, and the dog won't bite, the dog won't lunge, the dog will behave, but it's not trained to
Perform any
perform
tasks.
any specific tasks other than just be a very well-behaved dog that you can take into places that people can, where dogs
So
are
would
allowed.
a therapy dog be allowed under this bill that's being filed?
Not in a restaurant.
Okay, so just service dogs.
Just service
Okay.
dogs. And then an emotional support dog or animal, an emotional support animal is not trained to do, I mean, it can be, but it doesn't have to be trained to do anything. And emotional support animals, they really do perform an important task. What they do for their owners is legitimate and real, and an animal can.
But they don't go through any type of training
no training
So
whatsoever.
Earl could be your emotional support dog.
Earl is my emotional support dog, but
But there is such thing as puppy Prozac. I know that for a fact, but doesn't mean that they serve a medical purpose.
Well, and they can serve a medical purpose for people who have mental illness and other conditions. If you have severe anxiety, having your animal just petting a dog can lower your blood pressure. So they do serve a very legitimate purpose, and there is a provision in the Housing Act, the Fair Housing.
Yeah.
So there's a provision, there's a law that says, okay, this apartment complex doesn't allow pets, but I need my cat to function because I need my emotional support animal to function. So they have to let you bring but the law only covers housing. The law does not cover bringing your
Okay.
emotional support animal into a restaurant. It only allows you to be able to have it in some sort of housing facility that doesn't ordinarily allow pets.
Okay.
So that's the other thing that has caused confusion. People think, well, I'm allowed to have my cat in my apartment, so I should be able to take my cat
To a
out to eat
restaurant.
with me. And the law does not
Interesting.
cover that.
And even today, it's a health violation to bring emotional support or therapy animal
Correct.
into a restaurant, but it's not illegal under
There's not really a
Regular
law but the restaurant can get fined because they're breaking the health code.
Okay.
It is a health code violation. It's considered unsanitary to have, and restaurants have to do specific things even if it is a legitimate service dog,
Yeah.
they still have to sanitize I mean, if you have a service dog that's a golden retriever, that dog's gonna shed.
Yeah.
And so they do have to do the cleanup, but I guess it's no different from if you have really messy customers who throw
Yeah.
crumbs everywhere.
And I think it's also there's a purpose for that dog, so it makes sense to allow
Exactly.
it to get a little dirty
Exactly.
because it serves such a high purpose. I mean, you talk to a lot of business and restaurant owners. Do you see people abusing the system right now? And
Restaurant owners have seen a really big uptick in people abusing this and bringing their animals in. I mean, I've seen people with their pit bull at the deli counter at Publix. People are bringing their pets, and I love my dog. I want to bring him everywhere I possibly can, but there's a time and a place, and that's what the Representative Anton said to me. He said, "Think of it this way: would you bring it to church?
yeah,
And if you wouldn't bring it to church with you, then leave it at home." And
unless it's St. Francis of Assisi Day,
exactly, the
which
blessing of the
you
pets.
get your dog's blessed.
You're invited to bring the pets to that. Yes. So, and I did talk with one restaurant, Osario in Cocoa Village, and they have a pet-friendly patio. So it's and restaurants. I don't think a lot of people know this. Just because a restaurant has an outdoor seating area does not automatically mean that they can allow pets there. They have to, it's a city by city, and not all cities have that code. Not all cities have passed that, but the city of Melbourne has, Cocoa has, there's several in Brevard County that have. But if the city has passed that allowing pets to be on the premises, then the restaurant has to apply for a license to do that, and they have to pay a fee, an annual fee, to be able to allow. And then they still have rules that they have to follow. Again, the dog can't be eating off the table. They have to make hand sanitizer available. The dog can't be barking at other dogs. So Osario has a pet-friendly patio. And they have now posted the rules for these are the things that a service dog must be doing. We don't allow pets inside. If yours is a service dog, your service dog is welcome. And I talked with the manager there, Emma Kirkpatrick, and Emma said that since they posted the rules, they've had much fewer problems.
Oh, really?
Because she's able to say, okay, well, but your dog is sitting in your lap. See, here's our list of rules. A service dog is not allowed to sit in your lap.
Yeah.
So please enjoy our pet-friendly patio. And she said that has just really solved a lot of problems for her.
I know. It's just, that to me is just so, it's a first world problem that, my
really
pets,
kind of
poor me,
is.
I can't bring
It
my
kind
pets
of is.
into a restaurant. But I think it says something about the culture, and I think it wasn't always like this.
No,
20 years
wasn't.
ago, it was really pets belong in the home or in your
Exactly.
backyard. I mean, what do you think has shifted in terms of people becoming so attached to their pets?
I really can't answer that. I mean, I hate to say that people are more self-centered and they don't think of the repercussions. I would not have known the serious problems that bringing my dog places could cause someone like Jennifer Cleveland. Mm-hmm. I would have never thought of that. I don't think anything of letting my dog go nose to nose with another dog and say hello. You can't do that with a service dog. I didn't know these things.
Yeah.
I would have never thought how, if she's shopping in Publix with her service dog and somebody has their little, their little Yorkie or whatever on a retractable leash, and the Yorkie keeps nipping at her service dog, the dog sits down and won't move because he senses danger and he's not going to go any. So she can't function.
Wow.
I would have never thought of these things. And I think one of the other things that could have contributed to this as more people are traveling, and Europe is very dog friendly. There are lots of places in Europe where I was in Germany 30 years ago, and there was a dog under the table at the restaurant I was eating at. It's very common there for people to bring their animals, but the difference is their animals are very well trained.
Oh, really?
Very, very, very well trained. And I think if some of our pets were better trained, it would not be quite as big of an issue.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, and my dog's, he's not, he's housebroken. I can say that about him.
Oh, I've met Earl. He's adorable. He's so cute. I love poodles.
He's
They're
a
the
good
most
boy.
amazing pets and the most amazing dogs. Yeah, but that's a very interesting story. I'm very looking forward to learning more about it. But let's shift gears. Flavor Month just ended.
Flavor Dining Month just ended. We went through the middle of November. It was a huge success. We had 18 restaurants. There were people who ate at every single restaurant.
Wow. And explain, for those who are not familiar, explain how it works.
Okay, it's Flavor on the Space Coast is a dining month. We had 18 high-end restaurants participate, and they offered 3- and 4-course dinners for $40. So you could go through, it was a prefix menu, you could go through and pick your entree, your appetizer, entree, and your dessert. And I mean, just a smoking deal at these restaurants.
Yeah.
And the food was so good. I made it to 6. There were people who went to all 18.
Oh my
I'm
gosh.
kind of envious of that.
It is a lot of food, because
it's
I
a
was like,
lot of food.
that's probably more than most people would order otherwise.
Yes.
It's just like, oh, it's included, so I might as well just eat it.
Exactly. And so
Not
it
good
went
for your
on-
waistline.
Went
but
on for 6
great
weeks.
deal.
So what is that? 3 restaurants a week
Yeah.
for
Wow, that's a
something-
lot.
That's
Yeah.
a lot of restaurants.
And so it's amazing how many good restaurants we have in Brevard.
Yes.
And I've been very pleased since moving here. Well, what are some of the restaurants that you're most excited about right now?
I have some of my favorites that I go back to over and over again for different reasons, and it kind of depends on what the occasion is. But I always love Crush 11, love Scott's on 5th, I love Cafe Margot. Cafe Margot on Wednesday nights has a spirit night where they explore different liquors, and so they'll have bourbon night or tequila night, and Wednesday nights are so much fun at Cafe Margot. The La Cita Country Club in Titusville is just a beautiful place, and it's been open to the public for a couple of years now, but people don't really realize it's a beautiful high-end restaurant, and anybody can go there. It's just a really nice place.
Yeah, my favorite is Crush 11. I love that place. It's like every bite is worth it.
Yes.
And I love the carrot cake ice cream
Oh my gosh, that is the best
with the
thing
shaved
ever.
carrots on top.
Yes.
It's amazing.
Because it feels like it's healthy.
Yeah, but it's
feels
not,
like
because
it.
it's really, and it has like raisins and I think cookie dough in it as well.
Yes.
It's really good.
And they have fabulous cocktails. The Dove 3 in downtown Melbourne is also, it's just really elegant and classy. Just
That's
so
one
many
I
fun
gotta check that
places.
one out. I haven't been to that one. I always walk past and say I gotta go to Dove. And so restaurant business is a really tough business to be in.
It's a very tough business.
Some of these places have established themselves and are doing really well, right?
Yeah, have been around for a while. So I used to fantasize about opening a restaurant, but I now know how hard it is. I have friends who are in the restaurant business. If their restaurant is open 6 days a week, they are working 6 days a week. And
Yeah.
to take vacation, they have to close, which means they get no money. So it's just we should be very thankful for our paid
Yeah.
vacation and our
I know.
and our 401ks. But
And the fact that you get paid no matter how much you sell. And so since we have 3 minutes left, but since Thanksgiving is coming up,
yes.
let's talk about the issue that everybody has, which is what to do with Thanksgiving leftovers. What are some of your suggestions?
Well, I talked to some of our local chefs about how to kind of jazz up your Thanksgiving turkey sandwich. What do you do with do you make a turkey sandwich after?
Not
for
really.
for
I
days
don't-
and days after?
I don't cook Thanksgiving. I just go to people's homes.
And they don't give you leftover turkey to take
They'll
home.
give me like a plate. I'm not a
Okay.
big fan of turkey.
Ah.
As soon as especially the dark meat, is just, I don't know. There's something about it that just doesn't sit well with me.
Well, my tradition is I take the turkey and make a big pot of turkey gumbo, turkey and sausage
okay.
gumbo. So that's what I do with my leftover turkey.
And you're from Louisiana.
I'm from Louisiana.
Yeah.
So some of the chefs that I talked with, I had one who she does the turkey on a croissant. Darcy from Darcy's Bacon Blue. So she always, of course, it has bacon on it and cheese and melts it down. Some of the chefs and then she dunks it in gravy. So it's on a croissant, so you can dunk it in gravy. One of the chefs I talked to, Justin at Snug Pub in Cocoa Village, he said that he's going to be making turkey egg rolls, where he's going to buy the wonton wrappers at Publix and he'll put some turkey and dressing, a little cranberry, wrap it up, and deep fry it. So that's his plan.
Okay, that looks interesting.
Doesn't that sound kind of cool? And one chef said that he was going to use Havarti cheese, and they just get so creative. My go-to turkey sandwich, I chop up some olives, and I put the olives on top, and so I have my mayo, my mustard, my turkey, a little cheese, and olives.
Well, the issue with leftovers too is that you keep eating that food for longer than you're supposed to, and then and Christmas comes along, and then you're eating more on top of that, and it becomes this huge, couple of months of feasting, and not good for you.
Well, you just have to plan lots and lots of exercise. Go for a family walk after your Thanksgiving meal.
Helps digest.
And then eat more.
Yes. Well, Suzy, thank you so much, and I look forward to reading your story.
Thank you for having me. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
My thanks to Suzy and Isadora for sitting down in the new Florida Today studio for this week's show. Suzy's story, as well as hundreds of other local stories and videos, can be found online at floridatoday.com. And for all of us here at Florida Today, we hope you and your family have a happy and safe Thanksgiving. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again next week.